right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Caitlin Russell. I'm with the International Franchise Association, and we have a great 30 minutes planned for you guys. Just one note, we are recording today's webinar, and it will be available later this afternoon on community.franchise.org. Okay, today's topic is demystifying connected TV and digital media, leveraging customer data and analytics to plan and buy media for your trade area. And here to present are Michael Harrison, Managing Partner at Winterberry Group, and Sean Johnson, CEO and President of Deliver Media, today's sponsor. So thank you to you both for joining us today, and thank you to Deliver Media for your sponsorship of today's Lunch and Learn. Any questions you have for these two, please make sure to put them in the chat box, and we'll get to them at the end of today's content. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Sean to give us a little bit more information on Deliver Media and get us started. Sean?
Awesome. Well, thank you, Caitlin. As you mentioned, today's webinar is on connected TV and digital media, specifically how you can set up a foundation for data analytics on the front end to help guide the types of campaigns that you're launching, the messaging and campaign audiences, as well as the analysis post-campaign. We've got a lot of great info for you in a short period of time, so certainly feel free to ask any questions or follow up with us after the webinar. Next. So Deliver Media is the sponsor of this webinar. We currently work with over 4,000 franchise units in the home services, senior care, and QSR verticals. For all of our clients, we partner with them to build a core of data and predictive analytics on the front end to launch very powerful one-to-one marketing campaigns. Speaking to you, Sean Johnson. I'm the CEO of Deliver Media. Cut my teeth on the Domino's Pizza account almost exactly 20 years ago. I was lucky to land with a client that truly understood the power of data and data collection on the front end. And I spend most of my time these days working with our data scientists and our development team to build applied predictive analytics platforms for brands in the franchise category. With me, I have a good buddy of mine, Michael Harrison, and colleague for over 10 years. Michael, do you want to give a brief intro on yourself?
Michael Harrison, Managing Partner at Winterberry Group. We're a management consulting firm focused on the advertising, marketing, data, technology, and commerce ecosystem. And prior to Winterberry, I was in the franchisor marketing arena with agencies.
Great. All right, so let's go ahead and dig right in. We'll start out by talking about the types of data that are available to you as defined by ownership. On the left-hand side, you've got first-party data, and that's data that you own, right? Data that you're directly collecting from your clients or customers, as well as prospective leads in your business. This is typically stored in a CRM or point of sale system. And if collected, stored, and leveraged correctly, first-party data can be a very powerful resource. And I just want to touch on that last thing. It's very important. I can't tell you how often we partner with a new brand and there's either insufficient or incomplete first-party data. Just taking the extra time to collect the PII, personally identifiable information like phone number, email address, physical street address to append to your client records is a very, very valuable asset down the road. So next you have second-party data. And in the event that there is insufficient or incomplete or not statistically relevant first-party data, a marketer can access someone else's first-party data. So there are data exchanges that you can go to where you can find a company that has the same target market, they play in the same sandbox, but they're not necessarily a direct competitor of your business, and you can access their data for purchase. And then finally, the third type of data is third-party data. So that's typically aggregated from thousands of different resources. There are a handful of very reliable data aggregators. At Deliver Media, we use the Info Group National Consumer Database. We license that in-house. And so we've got access to 700 demographic and psychographic traits on every address in the country. So that's the different types of data that you can access. The next 3 slides will deal with how you can build an infrastructure for data analytics on the front end to really empower your campaigns. And the first step is customer segmentation. So this is something that companies like Domino's Pizza do extremely well. Understanding who your customers are and then separating them into buckets like you see here can really guide decision making when it comes to marketing campaigns. So here are some very easy examples of customer segments within a database. Just knowing who your brand new customers are, who may be seasonal buyers, MVPs or heavy users, or even dissatisfied customers can help you, again, make decisions on what types of messages and audiences you want to include in your campaign. So that's step number 1, understanding the customers that you currently have. Next is a great example of how you can apply third-party data and append that to your first-party data for a deeper analysis. So this is a cluster analysis, and this is a very simple example from the senior care industry where we took their customer list or client list and then appended the demographic and psychographic traits to enrich that data. And I want you to think of a cluster analysis like the dance floor at a high school prom. So you've got in one corner of the dance floor, you have the athletes, and in another corner of the dance floor, you would have the math club or chess club. That's where I would hang out. We're all listening to the same music, right? But we're behaving a little bit differently. So a cluster analysis involves data scientists going through and appending third-party data to enrich your first-party data, and then separating your customers into groups that kind of look and feel the same. Very simple use case here. This company in the senior care space, if they were launching high-value services into an affluent neighborhood, they could easily see on the bottom right-hand corner here that the high-income boomer cluster, which represents the highest income sector that they have, is actually only 3.81% of their customers, right? So they're not plucking the lowest hanging fruit first. You can also assign a customer segment to every customer. So then you can A/B test messaging and determine what types of messages as well as channels work for each group that you're currently doing business with. All right, so we've analyzed customer data. We've rolled that up into customer segments. The next step that is very important is going through store segmentation. Now, when you're an emerging brand and you're forming new locations, or you're an established brand and you've got thousands of locations in a lot of different types of markets, a store segmentation can be a very valuable tool. An example is on the screen here where we've got a multi-thousand location brand, and we've identified 8 different segments as it pertains to the market type, right? So here we've identified 8 different types of markets that they're in. We've assigned each of them a number. We've allocated each location to one of the segments. So you can see what percentage of your locations and how many locations belong to each segment. And then there are an infinite number of stats that you can look at, but here are some easy ones: are the total market size in each segment, as well as the average size per location. Similarly, the total customers in each segment and the average customers per location. So this is important both on the front end, pre-campaign, as well as post-campaign. It gives you a way to really have an apples to apples comparison. We all know that locations a lot of times in a rural market will behave a little bit differently than a location in, say, an urban established market. So the operational KPIs are a little bit different, as well as the messaging that'll resonate with those groups. So once you've assigned each location to a store segment, you can really compare them to a group, each location to a group of their peers. All right, so we've kind of set the foundation. We've gone through customer segmentation and a cluster analysis, so we understand who we're currently doing business with. We built the foundation for analysis with store segmentation. Now we can apply predictive modeling. So predictive analytics basically involves a data scientist identifying a behavior in your customer transactional data that you either want to promote, right, get more of, or discourage, get less of. Any behavior that you can identify within your business can be modeled off of. So the data scientist would go through and build an algorithm to predict the likeliness of each customer or prospect in your trade area to exhibit that very specific behavior. Here you see an example of households being assigned a probability score according to their likeliness to do something very specific. Now, the obvious application when you're building a campaign file is you can pull out the most likely responders to that campaign as it pertains to the very specific goal that you have at the time of the campaign. There are infinite numbers of predictive models, infinite possibilities, but some very common model types that we've implemented for our clients are here on the screen. Customer clone models identify the most likely prospects in each trade area, so you can really refine your prospecting budget. On the right-hand side, an attrition model will predict the likeliness of each customer to attrite before that behavior happens. This is great for an established brand that likes to, with the goal of, protecting home base. So identifying customers that are likely to become lost allows you to launch a very pointed and timely retention campaign. A lift model will identify campaign responsive individuals at the time of the campaign, right? In case you want just a big revenue boost at that time. And then finally, event-based and promotion-based models identify individuals that are likely to respond in correlation to a specific event or promotion. Michael will get way more in depth as to how all of this is applied to digital media buying, but some basic market applications are shown here. On the left-hand side, you have some channels where there may not be a direct one-to-one marketing opportunity, but you can certainly use the intelligence generated by the predictive analytics infrastructure to guide your marketing effort. So for example, this location has presence in Citrus Springs as well as Lecanto, while Citrus Springs presents a 97 probability score as compared to Lecanto with only a 70. So if I'm building SEO content, I'll focus my effort on Citrus Springs before I get to Lecanto. Quick example. On the right-hand side, you have channels where there is a one-to-one application. And not only can the obvious happen, where you're campaigning to the right individuals across these channels, but you can also set up one-to-one attribution, where you're continuing to feed the models with campaign data and transactional data, and you're identifying individuals that responded to each campaign, producing incremental return on investment reports for your franchisees. This is super powerful because then they know if they put $1 in, they're likely to get $9 in return.
Great, thanks, Sean. So now we're going to discuss how we can activate the data and analytics Sean has been discussing in digital media. Thanks. So I think somebody once explained to me that marketing is like a World War II battlefield, right? So TV is the B-52 bombers, that print and display are like the artillery, and direct mail and paid search and paid social are the infantry. And without the combination of all three, you can't win a battle. So we need to look at how we can leverage all of these different types to really drive conversion and sales. Historically, franchisees and local marketers have really been limited to the access of data-driven channels. Initially, we started with direct mail, was really the only channel that we had access to be able to leverage data for. Then email came along, followed by paid search, and then most recently is paid social, which has really kind of been one of the cornerstones to data-driven, especially at the local level. But with the introduction of programmatic media, which we'll go into further through this presentation, there has been a democratization of the digital channels. So we still have the cornerstone of direct mail, email, paid search, and social, but now all of a sudden we have access to display at a cost-effective way that we can compete with national advertisers. We have video, digital radio, And then what's known as connected TV, which is the TV purchased over a connected device. So that can be Hulu, it can be the AT&T Now, or through Roku. And all of these combined with the traditional channels now allow us this whole kind of awareness, consideration, and conversion side of the ecosystem, right? And now at the local level, we're able to compete with national advertisers or advertisers with much deeper budgets because we're able to pinpoint our targeting. To do this, really, we're looking at programmatic. Programmatic is a means of media buying, and there's two sides. There's programmatic has two sides of the equation that are leveraging data, as Sean has been discussing. Supply side platform, otherwise known as an SSP. This is going to be a tongue twister, by the way. So, otherwise known as an SSP, enables the publishers, so these are the newspapers, the blogs, TV station, networks, and stations, to manage and sell their inventory. So this is a technology that's connected on the inventory side. And then you have the demand side platform, otherwise known as DSPs, that enable buyers of media to access and purchase that inventory from the SSP. So these two connect to create technology so that we can access this inventory and buy it at scale. Historically, the way that you would do that is you would actually go to the publisher and negotiate rights on buying that. And it created this ecosystem where the big spenders had the most weight because they could go to ESPN and say, I'm going to buy X amount of dollars, so I want a lower cost per impression. And now through programmatic, we're able to buy at the same rate as a large advertiser, a large spend, just as long as we set that threshold. So SSPs and DSPs, all for the purchase of display, video, digital radio, and connected TV, to name a few. And we're seeing more and more channels expand into being purchased programmatically, even to the point where digital out of home, so out of home, one of the most traditional ways of buying, is shifting to being transacted programmatically. So let's continue to discuss how programmatic works. The power behind it is the ability to truly deliver the right message to the right person at the right time. Again, the SSP is the inventory. So this is the publishers and broadcasters coming together with the demand side, which is the demand side platform, which is really the targeted audiences. So all of the work that Sean was mentioning on building audiences defined by the marketer. So as we talked about, kind of switchers, MVPs, people that are likely to leave the brand, we could identify those leveraging that analytics and segmentation and provide a more aggressive offer to a prospect than to a current customer. We are able to set a win back strategy to customers that have left the brand, right? So we could try to acquire them with a deep discount to see if we could get them back into the fold for purchasing. In real time, the DSPs and SSPs allow the marketer to bid on the target audience based on the perceived value. So if I say that this person has a high value or has a high likely value, potential value for me, I will pay $1.50 for that person. Where somebody that has a low value that might be a switcher that's going to bounce around from brand to brand by offer, I'll pay 50 cents for, right? So that allows us the flexibility to be able to really kind of throttle up, similar to in paid search, decide on the audience, and then set the criteria of how much I'm willing to pay for that individual. Once the ad is placed, though, the real work happens where we measure the effectiveness of the targeting, the channel that we were in. So whether it was a display ad, a video ad, a digital radio ad, to name a couple, the content served. So what was the creative that looked, what was the offer, and when and where was the ad placed? Once we've measured that and understand the impact and the effectiveness, then we can actually go back and take the information that we learned from the reporting and start all over at the top level again and create a new strategy and optimize that strategy and go through the process. That seems like a lot of work, but that can be done in milliseconds. So we're actually creating the performance goals. We're buying in real time, we're measuring in real time, and we're optimizing in real time. And what you typically see is these campaigns within a week will have optimized completely and then start to perform at peak performance. Next slide. Thanks. So then the ability, we're able to actually now start to target with local or personalized creative experiences. So we're able to serve localized ads dynamically based on the user's current proximity to the location, for example. So we could actually say, this person is within 30 yards of my location. I want to be aggressive and try to acquire them, right? Or this person passes by my location every morning, so I should send them an ad in the evening to remind them to stop by to get coffee. Leveraging, so the way that we do this is through that programmatic ecosystem. We can do what's known as dynamic creative optimization, which enables us to serve specific combinations of content, offer, location based on each individual. So we could do it at the individual level, or we can do it back to Sean's point of the high school prom or high school dance. We could actually do the segments and create content offers to those segments and push to each segment that different variation of content to get performance. Then, so that was the display world. Now we're talking about TV. So in connected TV, again, this is the digital ecosystem of television, where franchisees have historically not been able to play because it's very expensive unless you're buying DMA, right? In connected TV, we're able to create ads in multiple ways. So franchisees can create their own commercials, similar to the automotive dealer ad on the left-hand side, where it's a specific ad for a market. This could be cost prohibitive, though, for a lot of franchisees. The second way is we can leverage franchisor creative. So we can take the creative that your franchisor has created and version the creative for your trade area, for your location. Similar to the Benjamin Moore ad above, right to the right. So we take that Benjamin Moore ad, we create a wrapper around it, and we can put the location in there. We could actually splice that and create different versions. We can actually take that if it's a 30-second ad made for TV, and we want to do 15 seconds, we can create a 15-second ad. All of this is done within the technology for programmatic around connected TV. Or the third way, probably the more traditional way, is you can work with a partner that is working with multiple franchisees in your system, right? So they'll pool the dollars, they'll create one kind of general ad, and then they can version and customize that ad for each of the franchisees that they're working with. Similar to that people have done in direct mail, probably you've seen in paid social, but it allows you to share the cost of the ad across multiple franchisees, but you still get the customization that you would like. So programmatic media, 85% of all digital media this year will be purchased programmatically. So whether you're buying from somebody that is what is known as a managed service provider, so somebody that's coming to you and selling you display, they're buying it programmatically most likely themselves, and then they're not passing on the savings, they're taking the savings to themselves and making that money themselves. There was a dip in programmatic in 2020, as everybody can imagine, due to COVID, but we're seeing a quick rebound in 2021 in the spend. Video is the fastest growing segment of programmatic, and that's because that's where all the eyeballs, especially in 2020 and 2021, as we're all sitting at home, has gone to. And then what we expect to see the fastest growing over the next 3 to 4 years is this connected TV, where more and more cord cutters are happening. We're shifting our viewing patterns to digital channels versus traditional cable boxes. This is where the ad space will go. The benefit for the franchisee is this is where you can be competitive in TV, where historically, again, you haven't been able to buy in TV. We're now able to buy through programmatic and compete with even the franchisor in ad placement for my local area. This slide is just to tell you how difficult this space is. So the technology landscape for display and TV is crowded and complex. I think the most telling stats are in 2011, there were 200 technology providers powering data-driven marketing. Last year, there were 8,000 technology providers powering data-driven marketing. So this space is complicated. What we recommend is finding a partner to help navigate this system that really understands who the right partners are to partner with and who really is telling the truth and delivers on their promise. Not all providers are equal in this space. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the marketing and advertising technology. There's a lot of promise that don't come to fruition, and a lot of individuals have made mistakes and costly mistakes. So I think working with a partner that has either made those mistakes and can pass on the savings and the learnings to you, or knows the ecosystem and has trusted partners that they work with. And then there's some risks to be aware of, though. So general concepts to think about when you're thinking about programmatic, whether somebody's trying to sell it to you or you're going out and do this yourself. The four key primary areas to think about are ad verification, which is a process that allows the buyer to verify their ads are displayed in the right context to the right people at the right time. So really, it's basically saying, did I get what I bought, right? And this is technology data that allows you to do that. Then there's the fold. Similar to like if you've ever bought print, the bottom fold is less ideal in the newspaper than the top fold, right? The fold is when buying your ad is placed where the user immediately sees it as the page is loading. So it's going to be the top of the website versus scrolling all the way down where somebody has to spend significant time on the site or that page to actually see your ad. The third is viewability. This allows buyers the ability to not pay for an ad that is down in that spot. So if it's further down on the page and it still loads, but somebody didn't scroll down, you don't pay for that ad. So that's a concept that's a data that you can buy to guarantee that there's viewability. And then finally, because as I mentioned earlier, in brand safety is historically, if you go back again to buying display, you bought display on ESPN, right? Or you're buying connected TV and saying, I want to buy NCIS. Now what we're saying is I want to buy Sean Johnson wherever he appears, but that can be on sites that are inappropriate content or content harmful for you or your franchisor. So what we need to do is say that we want brand safety guarantees that the sites that we're going to serve Sean an ad on are sites that follow our standards and our procedures for brand safety. And this allows you to guarantee that some people don't want to be on gambling sites, right? Coca-Cola doesn't want to be on certain sites that are going to go along with anti-healthy diets. So this allows you to guarantee that you're going to be in the right place at the right time to the right individuals. And that's kind of sums up our presentation. So we're ready for questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. So I'll start with, how can you determine whether or not a marketing company knows what they're talking about in regards to programmatic?
It's a good question. I think, first I would start with those four pieces on, do they guarantee viewability? Do they guarantee brand safety, ad verification, the fold? And then I would do reference checks. Ask them for three clients that they've worked with, and actually reach out to those clients and see how the performance was and what the experience was like. Sometimes you'll give up performance for really good customer service, or sometimes you care more about the performance and less about the customer service.
All right. And then the final one for today, can you talk a little bit about how programmatic TV and DSPS can be applied to B2B brands?
Yeah, I think you're seeing it more and more now. I make the joke, I've been, as I mentioned, advertising and marketing and technology, and I will tell you my connected TV experience is riddled with marketing technology providers. So I see more and more B2B. All of the data that Sean mentioned, from your own data to B2B data, third-party B2B data sources, can be leveraged through those DSPs that we mentioned and connect to the inventory. And you can buy display, video, and connected TV just like you would a B2C consumer in the B2B space now. And we're seeing more of it. And I think we'll only see more because you're able to narrowly target your consumer, and you know that this individual is in that ecosystem and you can run the ad to them.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions we have and all the time we have. So thank you so much, Michael and Sean, for today. Thank you, Deliver Media, for sponsoring and your support. Again, this was recorded and it will be available on community.franchise.org later today. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Betta.